What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are preparing for a game in 2 days against the Cincinnati Bengals, but that is not the biggest topic of conversation revolving around the black and gold. That, my friends, is how they want another playmaker for none other than Aaron Rodgers. There are a couple of names that have been floating around. We're going to dive into a few of them and who makes sense, but that's not the only wide receiver move that they are ready to make. According to one NFL Pittsburgh Steelers insider, the team has an extension on their mind, and it could be coming quick, and it's Tuesday, which means Overreaction Tuesday. I apologize that we are late. Came home to a router that wasn't working, internet that wasn't working, electricity that wasn't working, but we got it all up and running. We're here 22 minutes late. That's all right. Things happen.
That's it.
Here in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good. If anyone wants to know what I was doing while I was waiting for Noah, it was just staring at a wall while we prepared for this. So I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. I think I am as prepared as I could be. But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling great. Do you have any... I was trying to think of something funny to like sort of be like, oh, we were a little bit late because, you know, Noah did something comedic, but I couldn't even come up with an excuse. And I know that you were in the middle of taking care of stuff, but I was just wondering if you had any other time to come up with something funny in the midst of that.
No, nothing funny whatsoever. I was more so trying to wipe the sweat off my forehead and make sure that I was good to go as I ran up and down the 3 flights of stairs about 11 times, but it's all right. It's all right.
The steps are in. We're good. I love it.
Yeah, steps are good. Steps are in. We're fine. We're good to go. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they're ready to go. According to none other than ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they're ready to make a move before the trade deadline. That move is none other than the position that we have talked about endlessly for months, and we will still talk about because the Steelers want one, a wide receiver. They don't have names. I think there are a couple of them floating out there. I talked about 2 today on my to-go. I got one that I've narrowed down as the you have to go do it if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'll tell you about it here soon because I know you're going to say no, but before you say no, I'm going to ask for your opinion on who you think and what you think. The Steelers reportedly want a wide receiver. Feels like it makes sense. You know, maybe they are not as all in. Maybe there are variations to this comment that we could all take it as, because there will be people that look at it in black and white and say, no, they don't want a wide receiver. Maybe they want something to supplement the fact that Roman hasn't done much. Maybe they're just looking for other bodies to say, we don't need a Chris Olave and an AJ Brown. Maybe we just need a better Scotty Miller. You know what I mean? Maybe the Cleveland Browns are the only team that are going to decide that when Scotty and Ben Skoranek are wide receiver 2, that we're only going to put one person on DK Metcalf throughout an entire game, because that seems like a smart idea. Maybe other teams will learn not to do that, and they need to find something that's a little bit more supplemental to the injury that they're dealing with. There are variations to this report of Adam Schefter, but you hear it and you see that the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they're looking for a wideout. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, here I'll save the pessimism for a little bit here. And what feels like a report from Adam Schefter feels like just a simple skimming over of the roster leading to a conclusion, which is, I think, where we all agree, which is that there is a lack of talent, a lack of playmaking ability in the wide receiver room behind DK Metcalf. Like, that's, no one's denying that. No one over here. I'm certainly not saying, oh, look at this stacked wide receiver room that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. If only we could open up the playbook for Roman Wilson and Scotty Miller to wreak havoc. Like, no, like everyone knows there is such a firm, unmovable limit on those players. And I think that what Schefter's keying in on here is like what we've talked about a lot here as well. And that Omar Khan is just a sneaky general manager. He is very active on the phones. He is very active in engaging in trade talks. So I think at this point, like, It's obvious that they don't have enough talent in the wide receiver room. Everyone knows it, from, your baby's watching the show to, your grandfather. Everyone's looking at this team and they're saying there's not enough talent in the wide receiver room. Everyone knows it.
Mhm.
So I think he's just putting the pieces of the puzzle together and coming to the same conclusion that we all have. That being said, I did listen to your to go this morning. And I gave you a lot of flack about Jalen Waddle yesterday, but I think, call it Stockholm syndrome, but like maybe I'm starting to soften on that a little bit, and maybe there is some room for a move like that for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still the pessimism can come back into the room at this point, but I think you have to really strongly consider a Super Bowl team would acquire that one missing piece, maybe, that is a wide receiver 2 to go on that run. So I hear you, and you got me a little bit excited, a little bit less pessimistic about that idea. But man, I don't know if I'm there yet.
Logan, let me explain to you why I think Jalen Waddle is the name to watch for the Steelers. And I know people will tell me no, and I know there are other names that make sense. I am well aware of it. I think Jacoby Myers makes a ton of sense. And I think that the Steelers can call the Las Vegas Raiders tomorrow and say, hey, is Jacoby available? Because let's be honest, at some point this season, Kenny Pickett's going to be your starting quarterback, and he's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. He's not going to save this team from the disaster that it has started with. And if Jacoby Myers ends up in Pittsburgh, I get it. It makes sense. But I don't think he's the top option. And I think the Steelers are going to look for the top option before they settle on something less. This is why Jalen Waddle makes sense. Because Tua walked up to a podium after the Miami Dolphins fell to 1-5 and said, guys aren't showing up for meetings, and laid a bunch of dirty laundry out there for the whole world to see, to say that this team is just as disastrous as it was. And I'll tell you what, you want to know what happened? The 7 or 8 guys in the locker room that really respect Tua and look at him and say, this is our leader, this is our quarterback, are going to look at it and say, you know what, you're right, great move by Tua. And then the rest of them are going to say, brother, you just threw 3 interceptions and then walked up to a podium and tried to blame me? Are you kidding me? Is that what you're doing here? That's the problem. The Miami Dolphins got so much worse after he did that. So much worse. The ship that was sinking literally just had a meteor fell from the sky and went right through it. That's what happened. It's capsized completely. The Miami Dolphins are done. It's over. The season's over. And you restart from there, because you're not going to get a building block and say, oh, we need a quarterback, but we're going to keep Jalen Waddle just in case. Jalen Waddle's a wide receiver 2. He's not a wide receiver 1. He's not Tyreek Hill. You traded for Tyreek Hill because you had Jalen Waddle and realized Jalen Waddle wasn't a wide receiver 1. He doesn't get paid like a wide receiver 1. He doesn't play like a wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver 2. And you're not keeping a wide receiver 2 to build your franchise around. It's just not happening. And all the Pittsburgh Steelers got to do is call with a deal that makes sense. And I think the Steelers would be willing to call with a deal that makes sense and to say, look, we didn't jip you on Jalen Ramsey. We gave you Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's a pretty fair deal. Jonnu Smith for a 5th-round pick is wild, but it's a fair deal. I'll give you a 3rd for Jalen Waddle, and things will be fine. And you could have a 3rd and change if you want them, or we could start talking players. Doesn't matter. But I'm telling you right now, it makes so much sense for the Steelers to call the Miami Dolphins, and I have nothing holding me back telling me that the Dolphins, unless they are just complete idiots, thinking we are going to beat this thing at 1-5 with their quarterback, who is atrocious, calling out players, is going to not at least consider the deal. And if they consider the deal, Omar Khan is a con artist for a reason, dude. He knows how to get deals done. I think if they are looking, which, I imagine that they are. I imagine that it's like every other position. The Steelers are a team. It's the trade deadline. They're going to call teams. It's just what they're going to do. And they're not going to say, oh, you know what? Scotty Miller didn't catch a football. Roman Wilson had another 7-yard day and Ben Skoranek did nothing, but I'm sure that's going to work out every week. No, they're going to call and they're going to be realistic about the situation and say, we're not going to over press for anything. We're not going to make a dumb decision, but we're going to see what's out there. And when they call Miami, I think they're going to see if Jalen's available. And I would put on a 1 to 10 odds here. I would say that the chances of Jalen Waddle ending up in Pittsburgh is a 5.5. We have surpassed 50%. Because I think that there's nothing telling me otherwise. You don't go get Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Rodgers and Jonnu Smith and all these other crazy names and then say, yeah, we're good now. We're fine. No, the hand's been dealt. I'm saying Jalen Waddle makes too much sense for the Steelers.
I listen. I do not disagree at all with that very last sentence you just spoke. That Jalen Waddle makes a ton of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He fills a lot of needs. I imagine any sort of issues about the frustrations behind closed doors sort of get solved pretty quickly when you go from a team that has just been very rapidly on the decline to a team that's within a Super Bowl conversations, contender, playoff status, that sort of thing. I imagine that would get settled very quickly. The thing that kind of caught me off guard in your rationale, because for the most part, again, I agree with you, my dude. Like, there's a part here of like the trade that makes sense from the Miami Dolphins perspective. Do you think? And I don't know. It seems like everything is in turmoil in Miami, but is there a sense in Miami that they were at all winning that part of the trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, was acquiring Minkah Fitzpatrick a satisfactory return from the Miami perspective? I don't know. Looking at it from this side, from the Pittsburgh side, I just like can't help but to shake my head because Jalen Ramsey is clearly such an impact player immediately right now. Jonnu Smith, a 5th round pick was absolutely fair compensation for the production they're getting from him, but it seems like the Steelers lopsidedly won that trade. And so yes. I wonder if you can then, because of that, go back to the well that sort of like go back to the hands that feed you. I understand that, but you took a really strong serving from the well last time. Is it going to work again? I don't know. That's where I get tripped up in this. But besides that, Jalen Waddle makes this offense look elite, in the snap of a finger. And
yes,
all their other offensive issues for the rest of this season, at least, they kind of fall by the wayside. So I agree with all that. Can they make that trade make sense? That's where I think I'm getting tripped up in this.
Okay, so I think that we get caught up in I think when it comes to a Steelers trade and Omar Khan, I think we get caught up in the Omar Khan absolutely fleeced the Browns the Bears 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he did some magic on Chase Claypool going to Chicago for the 32nd pick in the draft, and that should have never happened. But I don't think that his trade since then has been fleeced. I don't think that trading an all-pro corner who didn't have the greatest season last year, who wanted out of Miami for an all-pro safety was like oh my gosh, I can't believe that the Steelers just pulled that one off. I think those in Miami were, we had those conversations. You go back to when that trade happened in July, we had the conversations of maybe Jalen, like Miami thinks Jalen sucks. Miami thinks Jalen's washed. So they had to think it's time to go. And Pittsburgh thought Minkah was washed. And maybe it was time to go. Jonnu for a 5th makes literally no sense. But I think that was Miami just being dumb. But again, that's my argument here is that Miami seems to be very willing with getting rid of their good players. And you have to offer something fair. But I think a 3rd round pick for Jalen Waddle is fair. I think at this point in his career, for a guy who is 26 years old, who's good, don't get me wrong, but he's 26 years old in a market where there are a lot of wide receivers, can be dealt for a 3rd round pick, and I'd feel comfortable about that. And I think that you're not fleecing Miami. You're giving them a pick to build off of, maybe a 3rd and a 6th if they want a little bit something extra, and you're getting a wide receiver that is on the 2nd year, he's on the 2nd year of an $84 million deal. His cap hit next season's $11 million. The year after that is $33 million and $37 million. Even when he's hitting $37 million, first off, you could extend him if you want to, because he'll be young enough. And second off, that's not expensive in 2 years. In 2 years, wide receivers are going for $35 million a year to be a wide receiver too. And I just think that works out. So I don't think the Steelers would have to fleece them. I think you have to give them a fair deal, a deal that they feel comfortable with. But I think you have to convince them that, like, hey, your season's over. Just start building for the future. And here's a draft pick that could help you do that. Meanwhile, we're going to try to win a Super Bowl right now. I don't think you could fleece them. But I think if you return to the well and said, here, good Mondrel, here, Ogre Prince, take my 3rd round pick for your crown. I think it would work out. Like, I think you have to be respectful in the offer, but I think you could do it. I think you could do it.
Fair King, may I have some more?
That's what I feel like it's gonna happen.
No. I mean, there's no doubt. Would you do a 2nd round pick? That's my last question about Jalen Waddle. I know we have lots you want to talk about.
I would do a 2nd round pick. I would do a 2nd round pick.
I just think the 3rd round pick, I think, is the last bit of like pushback I have with does the trade make sense part of my argument. But I think,
what are you holding on for? What are you holding a 2nd round pick for? To go get a quarterback that sucks? Like, you know what I mean? There's no good ones left. We're here. We're deep enough into the season where you know what you're doing. You got 12 picks. You want to know how easy it is to go get another 2nd? Pretty easy. You'd be pretty okay. You got 12 picks. You could stack enough of them to go get a 2nd round pick. You'd be fine with that. Go get Jalen Waddle. Who at this point, my ending argument is this. At this point, the Steelers are 4-1. They sit in 1st place in the AFC North. They are no longer thinking about their franchise quarterback in 2026. This is a Super Bowl team. They believe they're a Super Bowl team. They're playing like a Super Bowl team. You win a Super Bowl, you don't give a rat's butt about what next year brings. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. And if you could win a Super Bowl, it's all okay. And if Jalen Waddle is your missing piece, you'll go give up a 2nd round pick tomorrow and be very, very okay with the situation.
That I can get behind for sure, my man.
Love it. All right. On the other wide receiver topic, Calvin Austin getting an extension. According to Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Calvin Austin is next in line for an extension. I'll tell you guys this. I have heard a couple of times in the last couple of weeks that the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing something a little bit unorthodox, and that is looking to extend players during the season if they can get a deal done. I did not expect Calvin to be reported as the top of that list. I thought other names like Joey Porter and Nick Herbig would top that list. I have a very simple question for you here. Do you think Calvin gets an extension? And you texted me this question, so I'll use it back at you. Do you think Calvin gets an extension and the Steelers trade for a wide receiver both within the same time frame here?
I don't. And that is, pretty much why I had asked you when we were talking about this earlier today, is because I do find it really hard to believe that if they feel confident enough to extend Calvin Austin beyond 2025 and 2026, do they have that same level of confidence in the ability to go get that wide receiver too? Do they think that Calvin Austin simply is that wide receiver too amongst all of this conversation? And it's just a matter of whether or not he's healthy or whether or not he's available for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think those two sort of ideas, they don't feel complementary. They feel like they go in opposite directions, and it feels like they accomplish different things. Now, do I think that Calvin Austin is an extension candidate overall? I do. And I think that it's just not going to happen in season. And I don't think it makes a ton of sense to do that in season if you are actively pursuing someone like a Jalen Waddle or, some of these other names, a Jacoby Myers, or again, one of these more expensive contracts. Why would you then go out and bring in another additional expensive contract and put the wide receiver 2 role on said player when you just are working out an extension for Calvin Austin? And tell me that if I'm missing something here, is the extension locking Calvin Austin in as wide receiver 3 for the next 3 years? And that's where the conversation ends. The ceiling set. He's not wide receiver 2. The goal is to get someone else who is also a playmaker in between Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf, or is the extension signaling that he is wide receiver 2?
I think that it's signaling that he's wide receiver 3. I think he's going to get paid like wide receiver 3. I look at Calvin Austin as a guy that's worth $6-7 million a year. That's what he's going to get in an extension for the next 2 or 3 seasons. And I don't think he's going to have a market in free agency. I don't think he's going to have a big market in free agency. I think re-signing him will be easy. So the way I look at it is you just re-sign him and make it easy. Not during the season. I don't believe that he does get a deal during the season. I was surprised by that. I could see Joey and I could see Nick Herbig inking deals during the season. I could see both of those things happening. I don't think Calvin gets done because of what you said. I think they trade for a wide receiver. They bring in somebody. That guy is, if it's Jalen, is signed. If it's Jacoby Myers, you're going to sign him. So whatever the situation is, they got a long-term deal under their belt. Calvin has to come to an understanding that he's wide receiver 3, which, you just have to come to that understanding. You're still going to see the field quite a bit, but you have to be realistic about it and see how much you utilize him. And to be honest with you, I think you make a decision at the end of the year. And people aren't going to like this. I don't think I like it. But I think at the end of the season, if you make a trade in season for a wide receiver, you come to the end of the season and you go, do we really need Roman Wilson? If Calvin is a guy that we can extend for $6-7 million a year, have our wide receiver group solidified, you have Ben Skoranek as your 4, and then you could find a 5. Keep Keyshawn Williams because he's doing just as much as Roman Wilson, if not more, in that one game. And you could probably find a trade candidate for Roman Wilson to go get a 6th round pick for him and make some easy, ridiculous trade just to say we no longer have to worry about this. I think that that's a realistic outcome to this whole situation. I look at it after the season and say that's when Calvin's going to get paid. And he's not going to get paid much, but you're going to pay him. Again, I don't think he's going to have unless you feel differently, like I don't think Calvin would walk into free agency and get wide receiver 2 offers. I think it'd be wide receiver 3.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how he could. And that's why I don't understand why he would be in. Seems to me obviously that the Steelers would be the ones coming forward with these negotiations or wanting to pursue these negotiations with Calvin Austin because you can theoretically get him at a discounted rate like you're talking about here now. So I certainly see it from the Steelers side, but if I'm Calvin Austin, I'm holding out hope that I miraculously surpass the 600-yard marker and then can walk into the open market in a few months and be like, well,
give me 8. Give me $8 million.
Give me 8.5.
More. You're 5'6", and really good as a wide receiver 3. Like I think Calvin Austin's really talented as a wide receiver 3. I also think there's a million Calvin Austins out there. It's not difficult to find a Calvin Austin. And you have one. You want to keep him. He's good. He works his butt off, and he's good at a lot of things. I think that you're going to sign him for $6 or $7 million a year after the season, and I expect that to open the conversation of trading Roman Wilson and his time. This is a crazy question for you.
Okay.
Who spends more time in Pittsburgh when it's all said and done? Chase Claypool or Roman Wilson?
Ooh, how many games did
Chase left at the trade deadline his 3rd year?
Trade deadline is 3rd year. It's his 2nd year. I genuinely do not, right now, the way things are going, I do not foresee Roman Wilson being on this team at the start of the 2026 season. I just don't. They've yet again found no role for him. They've yet again found a way to render their 3rd round pick ineffective. And I just don't see that changing. There are opportunities for others to continue to rise up the depth chart. Probably not for Roman Wilson. And unfortunately, I think Chase Claypool could outlive the national champion Roman Wilson on the Steelers.
The guy
that was crazy.
No, me neither. The guy that people talked about as a potential 1st round pick for the Steelers that they loved. Things happen, man. The NFL is a weird place. The NFL is a weird place. All right, that's all our wide receiver talk today. It's Tuesday, which means Overreaction Tuesday. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-1. The Cleveland Browns, sorry, guys, hate to say it. The Cincinnati Bengals are hosting the Steelers on Thursday. The Old Man Bowl. I don't care. The Unk Bowl, stupid. It's the Old Man Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Cam Hayward. You could keep tossing them out there. They're playing. We'll get to it. Let's get it kicking.
It's a fine line between, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business. And sometimes it's very subtle.
Sometimes it's very subtle. My friend, you got them for me today. I'm excited. What do you got?
Let's start off with a little extension talk real quick again.
Love it.
Talked about Calvin Austin. I am in the same boat as you. I feel that if anyone is going to sign an extension in season, it's going to be Nick Herbig, because I think it behooves the Steelers to get this done before he gets too good. My first overreaction is that he is going to be the next Steelers player to sign an extension, and it is one that brings him more money than what Alex Highsmith makes per year, which is $17 million per season.
Oh, $17 million. I think, okay, so hear me out here. That's an overreaction. And you want to know why it's an overreaction? Because the Steelers aren't signing Nick Herbig this season to say you're going to make more money than what our last guy made after a Pro Bowl or a Pro Bowl type season at the end of it. They're going to sign him now. If they sign him now, I like that part. I would have said that's not an overreaction. He's not making more than the guy starting in front of him, because that's a clear indication to Alex to say, sorry, pal, you're gone. It's over. And on top of that, you are signing him now to make him cheap. He's only in the third year of his deal. It's not even over yet. It's not a contract season. I think because of that, the Pittsburgh Steelers are signing guys. And this is, you jumped into a lake full of snakes here, okay? Because I have been talking Snake Lake, and I've been talking, and the reason that the Steelers are looking to make these extensions is because they don't want the TJ situation to happen again. They don't want to find themselves in a place where it's going to cost more money than what it should. They want guys for cheap. That's how you get them cheap. I think Nick goes for less than 17, which turns out in 2 years to be the biggest steal in the NFL. I'll tell you that one. You want an overreaction on your side? Nick Herbig's deal in the next 2 seasons, if he signed it, would be the biggest steal in the NFL in 2 seasons.
Yeah, that is just, I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I mean, you cannot undersell, how quickly his star is rising right now. It can all change very quickly, right? Like, of course, that possibility remains. But it seems like he is just truly the next star edge rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it's going to be really interesting and critical for the Pittsburgh Steelers to find that right time that is sort of in that area you're talking about of, we can't let this get to TJ 2.0 in terms of negotiations, but how early can you jump on that wave and ride it? So I like that. I think it's a nice balance. We'll see what happens here. Let me throw one more thing defensively at you, and then we'll move to the offensive side of the ball. 355.6. That is the average yards allowed by the Pittsburgh Steelers defense through their first 5 games. I think the Steelers defense, we're in agreement that they're on the rise, and it seems like they're reaching new statuses every week in production.
Yes.
My overreaction is that they are going to continue to lower their average yards allowed continuously, and for the rest of the season on that pace. And this team will finish with lower than 300 yards, average yards allowed per game.
So they'd have to average, what's their average currently? 356 point something?
355.6.
They'd have to average for at least the next 5 games, just to even it out there, under 250 yards a game. That's what they'd have to allow. Over the next, they're 5 games in, that's what they average. They'd have to average less than 250 yards a game to get that number down to 300, roughly, if we're doing just basic, random math. That makes sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What about the games after that?
I know, after that it gets hard, though. After that it gets hard.
Let me ask you it this way. Do you think that they could average 285 yards allowed per game from week 7 on out?
Less than 300 yards per game.
Don't try to even it out just yet. We'll get to that math.
On out, which is do we have the schedule? Do we have the schedule? It's Cincinnati, Green Bay. Who's after Green Bay? LA. I believe it's LA after that. Then it's
Indianapolis after that.
Is it Indianapolis after that one? And then it's where's after that one?
It's Cincy, Green Bay, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Chicago, Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore.
No, I'm sorry. I wish I could say yes. I would love to say yes, but I just don't think I think we're riding the wrong side of the line overreaction here. I think that you're going to get a couple of those. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins could have 300 yards alone. You know what I mean? Now, do I think that they still lose 37-6? Yeah, for sure. But I do think that that's a possibility. I would love to be wrong on that because I think it'd be awesome to watch this defense go down in history, but I'm going to say that's an overreaction. We're 0 for 2 here.
Wow, I'm hurt. I'm crushed. I am bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. And I'm going to move to the offensive side of the ball to try and gain some normalcy here. But I don't think you're going to like this one either. Aaron Rodgers, he's just going to keep rolling. Short preparation time.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, for the first time in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform, eclipses the number 300, comes up again, 300 yards passing against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football.
That is not an overreaction. I look at I get it. It's Thursday Night Football. You want to know who Mike Tomlin plays terrible on Thursday Night Football? Aaron Rodgers plays great. You want to know who's on the field? Aaron Rodgers. So I'm saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be fine. The Cincinnati Bengals don't have any. They don't have two guys that can cover DK Metcalf, let alone one guy that can cover DK Metcalf. It's not going to happen. And I don't know who wide receiver 2 is going to be, but if it's Darnell Washington again, we'll be fine. And if it's Jonnu Smith, it's even better. If it's Scotty Miller, oh goshes. If it's Pat Freiermuth, we're back. Like, there are a million opportunities here, and I think the Steelers are going to be A-OK. 300 seems almost easy. It's bad, but it seems almost easy.
Does it change your answer if I tell you his season high in passing yards in a game is 244 in week 1?
No, not even a little bit, because in
Incredible.
244 yards, he had to throw against Sauce Gardner, and now he's got to throw against Daxton Hill and DJ Hayden. Like, we're good. Yeah, like, we're good, dude. We're good. I have almost no faith. The Cincinnati we could talk the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is the worst thing in sports. I could see 300 happening. That's not an overreaction at all. It's not an overreaction at all.
Okay. All right. I have another. I don't know where we're at on time, but I have another one. I don't know if
You're
we
good.
might
Hit me with it.
comments. Hit you with it. Here's just one straight out of my back pocket for you. Caleb Johnson gets 10 plus carries against the Cincinnati Bengals.
No, no.
He had
not
6
happening, dude.
on Sunday.
Doesn't. No, the answer is no. The answer is
It's a
no.
timeshare at running back now. Okay.
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's Jalen
All right.
Warren's backfield, and it's Kenneth Gainwell getting involved. The only way that they get more than 10 is if the Bengals lose by more than 25. Because at that point, if the Bengals lose by 20 plus, the Steelers will take Jalen Warren off the field and it will hit 10, which I think is a possibility. But I don't think that if we're playing a real football game with real players and there's real scores, that this actually happens. I just don't. I don't see until he stops running like this. They're not putting him out there 10 times a game. It's just
Backyard
not
football style.
it's like it's don't fumble. And the second you stop thinking about fumbling and you start thinking about what's in front of you, you'll be a quality running back. I'm excited about Caleb Johnson. The answer to that's no. Shout out Caleb, man. He's getting better, but the answer to that's no. The answer is no.
1 for 4 on overreactions today.
Shout out. That's a good guy. It's a good day. It's a good day. Look, it's a short week.
I'm
We're turning it around.
I'm proud of that. That means I'm being more optimistic than usual.
It's true. It's very
Mostly.
true, actually. Mostly. You're almost there. All right, guys. With that said, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we'll start answering all your questions. We'll be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $300 in bonus bets plus 3 months of NBA League Pass if your bet wins. That means new customers turn $5 into $300 if your bet wins in bonus bets. The crown is yours. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers who bet $5 get $300 in bonus bets and 3 months of NBA League Pass if your bet wins. Sign up using my promo code ALLSTEELERS and get in on the action. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out to our boys at DraftKings. Shout out our members. Shout out our super chatters. I want to make a quick announcement to make sure that you guys are on the show tomorrow because when I don't have internet issues, we will be announcing a giveaway that we're going to do at the end of the month. It's through Mike Tomlin's wife, Kaya Tomlin, that I'm super excited to give away. Goes towards breast cancer awareness, which is an awesome situation and foundation that we are here to support always. So super excited to link up with her and do that. We'll have details on it tomorrow. Super simple for you guys. Want to start off with Dougie Fresh gifting 5 All Steelers Talk memberships. My guy. Woo. Thank you. Appreciate you. For those of you who snag them, make sure that you're calling into the call-in show. Can't thank you guys enough as always. Poke salad, trade Roman, and a late pick for Jacoby Myers or Rashid. I'm going to be very real here. Good old poke salad. I'm not trading Roman Wilson for either of these guys. Who I am trading them for? Jalen Waddle. I don't think you need to give them up for either of these guys. I think you could give a 5th round pick for either of these guys, and you'll be fine.
I don't think you're giving them up. Like, I don't think you're like, I just think you're just, I think you're just like swapping players so you have, you know, the right number of players on your 53-man roster.
Yeah.
I don't feel like trading Roman is like giving him up at this point. There's nothing about what and that's not an indictment of Roman Wilson, the wide receiver he is or could be. It's the fact that he is, as I mentioned earlier in the show, like he has been rendered useless and ineffective in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Like, so why I'm not clutching on to him in any trade that I feel like would benefit the Steelers. If you could package Roman Wilson in a 7th round pick for Jacoby Myers, knowing you're going to sign him for a decent extension afterwards, I do not care at all about parting ways with Roman Wilson. Doesn't feel like I'm giving him up. It feels like Omar Khan did some con artist stuff again.
No, I agree. But that's what I mean. Like I'd give up Roman if you're going to sweeten the deal to get Jalen Waddle, I'm cool with it. I think Jacoby and Shaheed, you could just give them up. You could just say, here you go, player swap. Let's have a good one. See you later. I think it works for either one.
I love that.
I think that's just what it is. Sean, let's go get the second number 2. Also, any other city other than Pittsburgh where all their professional teams wear the same color. I don't think so. We were talking about this the other day. I don't think this is it. I think it's just Boston came very close. Then the Bruins ruined everything. New York with the Knicks. I think it's just,
like I think it's somewhere close, you know, like New York is kind of close, but then like there's a lot of
Knicks
blue
are way out there.
Knicks are way out there, but everyone else is like blue and red for the most part. Like, Washington has like 4 red, white, and blue teams. Oh no, the Commanders aren't. They're very much a different color red.
Super red. No, I think Pittsburgh's the only one.
Yeah, I think that like the most coordinated for sure. Yeah.
Shout out, dude. Steel City, the best city. Chris, I would be happy with Rashid or Jacoby, but I don't know if an angry Waddle is good for our chemistry. Noah, are you sure Waddle is the right guy? Look at who's not angry in Miami. Who's not angry in Miami? Your quarterback's calling out everybody when he sucks. Your head coach is wearing freaking capris out there and can't coach anymore. You got nothing going on. You need a fresh start. Jalen was all pissed off and everybody said he was a bad teammate when he left Miami. Let me tell you, Jalen's a fantastic teammate from everything that I've heard. There hasn't been a single indication that Jalen Ramsey is not a good teammate, but everybody in Miami thought he was a bad teammate. Well, maybe when your quarterback sucks and your coach doesn't know how to dress right, that's it. That's the problems. Take the tags off your shoes. That's my thoughts.
I thought an angry Waddle is what Noah did when he figured out his router wasn't working. But
that's so true, actually. That's so true.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hands on the hips sitting down going, what are we doing here? How did we get here? I think Jalen would be fine. I've heard a lot of good things about Jalen Waddle when he came out of the draft, about the character and the person that he was. I think he'd be okay. Chris, any chance we dump Wilson and get 2 wide receivers? I hope so. I don't think the Steelers need 2 wide receivers. I think they like Benny Sco. I think they like Scotty Miller. I think they like Keyshawn Williams now because he is one quality punt returner. I think you could just dump Roman and get another one. Let me let's toss this out here. Let's toss this hypothetical. If they did trade for somebody, who's the wide receiver they cut?
Scotty Miller.
Scotty. It's Scotty Miller.
It has
It's
to be Scotty Miller.
Everybody wants to say Roman, but it's Scotty Miller. There's just no. You could sneak Scotty through waivers and put him on your practice squad. You can't.
Exactly.
Roman will get picked up in 2 seconds, and you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. Yinzer, chicken salad, Jake. If Miami deals Waddle, they fire McDaniel too. McDaniel's done though. That's the thing, is McDaniel already lost his job. You're not going to save that. It's over in Miami. You tried really hard. It didn't work. That's what happens when you dump a boatload of money into a bad quarterback. You stink. You lose. You tanked for Tua, and then you paid Tua, and then he ate spaghetti, and he got worse somehow. And I just, it just went downhill so fast. So fast.
The tank for Tua.
The tank for Tua.
And then he got tanked in the brain. And then the carbs could not save it. Man, I would love to be a fly on the wall. Not that in the moment after I had heard that my quarterback called out, people for being late to meetings whenever I've thrown 4,000 interceptions in a game, as if that isn't part of the problem.
I also saw on Twitter that Deshaun Hamilton, who said he spent 2 seconds in Miami, said that Tua was late for the only team meeting he was a part of. So shout out to Tua, dude. Tua
he was doing a concussion test.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Probably.
Sorry.
Probably. It's the pasta, man. He figured that out late. I think McDaniels is already gone. Only one way to skin a cat. Voice of reason. Are we afraid? Are we not afraid at all in the back of our minds that putting a bunch of Dolphins on the team and playing in the winter is a bad idea? I mean, maybe. It's, yeah. I mean, like, you could toss that out there. You could. But Jonnu played in Tennessee. Tennessee's played in. They've played in some games. I mean, they went to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, and that's cold. People didn't play poorly in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tua plays bad in the snow. You just want to say what it is? I think Tua plays bad in the snow. I think that's what it is. I put a lot of this on Tua. I think when you have a bad quarterback, you have a bunch of other stuff. And I just don't think is it worrisome? Yeah, for sure. But I mean, Jalen Ramsey is going to be fine, and Jonnu gives me no worries, and I think Jalen will be okay.
I just can't paint it with such a broad brush, because so many of these players who wound up in Miami might have played somewhere cold in college. So maybe they just haven't played they've been playing somewhere.
I mean,
warm
he played
for
in
a little
Miami,
bit.
or he played in Alabama.
No. I don't mean Tua specifically. I mean
Jalen.
Sure, those two examples are not the best ones to use, but I still think, not talking about those two people specifically, I think just because they are on a warm weather team now doesn't mean they have no experience playing in cold weather in their lives. A lot of these players, they're not just playing indoors all the time. Maybe Dylan Gabriel was, and that was the first time the weather was below 70 degrees for him whenever he came to Pittsburgh. But I don't know.
Shout out. Threw the ball 52 times. I'm not totally worried about it. I'm not. I just think in the NFL, you got to take those chances. Chris, other than DK, no other wide receiver must be kept. I would trade away Austin and Wilson to bring in Myers or Waddle and Shaheed. If we are all in, then F yes. Chris, I don't want to disagree with you 3 times in an episode because I like you too much. I'm not trading Calvin. There's no part of me that wants to trade Calvin. I think Calvin's a good team player. I think he's a good gadget guy to have. I don't think he's a wide receiver too, but I don't think that Calvin for Jacoby Myers is a good trade. I think the Steelers at that point have given up a young talent that could be a wide receiver 3 for a rental. I would rather give up a draft pick, because you could give up a late, you have to go, what's the equivalent, I don't think Calvin Austin is equivalent to a 5th round pick. I don't think you're finding Calvin Austin in the 5th round. I think I don't think you're giving up more than a 5th for either of these guys. And I think that because I'd just rather give up a fifth, and I'd move on from Roman, but I don't think I'd move on from Calvin. I also would not trade for 2 wide receivers. I don't think that Shaheed and Jacoby Myers fixes things. I think it makes things more complicated, and I think you have to walk the line of adding a star, adding another big name wide receiver that could help your offense, and not redoing the whole thing in the middle of the season and having to try and hope that they figure it out in 8 weeks, because I think that gets super complicated.
Yes. Okay. I hear you. I agree with you on wanting to keep Austin and finding the equivalency, but I just to play devil's advocate, like if there's a willingness to sort of deal a Roman Wilson and give up on a young player in order to get someone better for the Super Bowl run, how far do you have to go? How far are you willing to go if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and sort of like giving up to get? I'm not saying Calvin Austin is that piece that you have to surrender in order to get that Super Bowl winning piece. I would prefer they keep him as well. I think he provides value in the right scenario and role. But if you're going to be a Super Bowl team, there has to be some, to use Chris's like some some F it sort of mentality of like, I'm going to go all in here, make this move that maybe is even a little bit crazy, but it pays off in the end. I don't know if this is the avenue to walk down with Calvin Austin, but maybe there is something similar to work out there.
I agree, but like, what's the name there? I don't think it's these 2 examples.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't think it's Jalen Waddle. Like, I don't think if Miami was like, unless it's straight up, but I don't think unless it's like a 4th and Calvin, if it's a 4th and Calvin, okay, great. But if it's a 3rd and Calvin, like, no, there's other pieces. Let's just start stacking stuff and make it happen. I just think that there are other ways to go about it. To where now, again, you call me and tell me, oh, Jamar Chase is available and you got to give up Calvin Austin. Yeah, take him. Have a good day. See and hope you like chili, pal. I just hope I hope it's delicious. It comes with pasta. It's disgusting, but it'd have to match what. Again, like, I'm not giving up Calvin for 2 other wide receivers that aren't stars, and I just think that's where I draw the line. I hear where you're coming from, though. I hear where both you guys are coming from.
For sure.
Lord knows, as far as receiver trades, I want Waddle, Olave, or curveball, maybe even Tyquan Thornton. What do y'all think? Ooh, I don't even know if Tyquan Thornton's playing well this season, to be honest with you. I have not watched a single one of his games. Let's look him up here. Tyquan Thornton.
While you do that, I think I'm very much out on Chris Olave. I know Jalen Waddle is very much in Noah's on the top of your list.
He's
right
pretty
now,
much got a house. He's got his place to stay at my house if they get traded. You know what I'm saying? We got a room.
Yeah. I'll pick him up from the airport, and in the morning we're making waffles, and I think that'll be great. And Tyquan Thornton, what do you think now that you've had a second to look at it? I'm out on Chris Olave. Jalen Waddle, Noah's slowly getting me around to maybe Tyquan Thornton, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think Tyquan Thornton's fine, but I don't think that he raises the roof in a way that I think if you're saying we want Rashid Shaheed or Jacoby Myers, but we're not going to go any further than that, then I think, yes, I think there's an argument to be made for Tyquan Thornton. But I think if you're shooting higher than that, then I'm not going for Tyquan Thornton. I don't think that he's a name I'm looking at. I think that's where we're at. I don't think I'm out on Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave is going to be too. I think if I'm giving up a 2nd round pick, I'm going Jalen Waddle over Chris Olave, and I'm feeling really good about that situation because both got their injury issues, but I think Jalen fits what the Steelers would love to do more, and I think Chris, it brings me some worry. It brings me worry on not the player, but you have to sign him to a big deal and you have to give up something for him. And he's had 4 concussions. So it's a lot going on there. It's a lot going on there in the wrong way. Yeah.
Scary. It's a scary number. That's why I'm out on Olave. It just reminds me of like Not Another Teen movie where they kept track of Reggie Ray's concussions to go. And it just feels like if he gets one more, like he's just got to retire. You ever seen Not Another Teen movie? If not, you should watch it.
I did. That's a good reference. Only way to skin a cat. No wide receiver trade. Get Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State in the first round. There is a zero. Stephen, love you, brother, but there is a 0% chance that Jeremiah Smith makes it out of the top 5. 0% chance that he makes, and he's not going to go this year unless is there other wide receivers last name Smith?
I'm just thinking of Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. I'm sorry if you just said that. I was reading comments as you were starting to talk.
Yeah. I'm thinking Jeremiah Smith. The other one's Cornell Tate, I'm pretty sure.
From Ohio State? Cornell Tate from Ohio State? Yeah.
Yes, Cornell Tate from Ohio State. I just Jeremiah Smith would be awesome. Don't get me wrong, it'd be sick.
Yeah.
Doesn't help you right now, though. And I'm going to go back to my argument. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you don't wait. You're no longer waiting. Waits are over. Longtime listener, still trying to become a member, but stop me if I'm wrong. Are we playing for the 1 seed against the Colts in a couple of weeks? As of right now, yes, they are. Yes, they are. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers win and everything stays the same, they are the top seed in the AFC, which let me tell you, Aaron Rodgers versus Danny Dimes couldn't have been drawn up any better. It just couldn't. You couldn't have come up with a better situation than two guys probably competing for comeback player of the year, and the winner of that game potentially wins comeback player of the year. I love every second of it. Shout out to Danny Dimes. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. And yes, as of right now, it will be at Acrisure Stadium competing for the 1 seed, which would be awesome. King Vibes, if you're looking to become a member, go to the main page on our YouTube channel. There's a little tab. It says, videos, lives, so on and so forth. At one point, it says members or memberships. Click on that, and it'll say join. From there, you can become a member. Shout out. Appreciate you as always. Chris, crazy hypothetical trade. If the Raiders are in rebuild mode, why not offer Freiermuth and a first rounder for Brock Bowers? Steelers would be in tight end heaven. That would be so awesome. That'd be so awesome. There's a 0% chance they'd trade. It's the only guy they wouldn't trade, but Pat Freiermuth, I'd give up Pat Freiermuth and a first for Brock Bowers. Easy.
You give up a first round pick for another tight end?
Yes, for the tight end, for the guy who's going to revolutionize tight ends. Yes.
You think he's not?
Yes,
dude. All right, come talk to me again in 4 years when they're like, oh man, I can't believe how the Raiders ruined Brock Bowers.
That's a possibility, but if he's in Pittsburgh, he's not going to get ruined. He's just going to have.
He won't get ruined or harpooned or anything like that.
Look at
feeling right.
Brock Bowers, bro. Brock Bowers. I would do it. I don't think they'd do it, but I would do it. Brock Bowers is a stud, man. He's pretty much a wide receiver, and he can do everything.
So that's what everyone said about Jonnu Smith before we got him.
No, that's what Mike Tomlin said about Jonnu Smith. He's the only guy who said it about my. He's the only one. He's the only one. I'm not listening to Mike Tomlin and his scouting reports on tight ends. I no longer listen to him.
Oh yeah, I mean they're false, but yeah. I think there were a lot of people in the media who were like, "This is your wide receiver too. It's Jonnu Smith," and you're like, "I don't know if you've ever seen him run, but he's a tight end."
He's a tight end. One way to skin a cat. I did say Watt outplays Miles every single matchup, and he did. Once again, it was a beautiful time, my friend. Shout out to Myles Garrett, man.
He's frustrated, I hear.
Yeah. Wishes that the offense
the same way.
It's tough to lose the same way, dude. When I get one tackle and the offense doesn't score points, man, dude, tough times. Tough times. Yeah. Miles. Shout out to Miles. Right for you there, Miles. Right for you. Nate needs more salad. With Mute's usage decreasing more and more, is it possible we could see him traded away? What could he get us? I'm not open to the possibility yet. I want to say it's coming. I want to say it's coming. I don't believe that he's frustrated yet. I don't believe that. Do I think that if the Steelers got an offer for him, they'd have a conversation? Yeah. Do I think that they are going to actively pursue that? No. But I do think teams might call. I think you're getting a 4th round pick for him. like maybe if you could fleece somebody, you're not getting much for a tight end. Johnny went for a fifth. Pat's younger, I get it, but he's also sitting behind Jonnu. So I think if you fleece somebody, it's a fourth. I think that's what you're getting for him.
Yeah, I think Nate's getting at something here. I think we are on the early stages of the Steelers parting ways with Pat Freiermuth. Like, I just don't think that he'll be here for the duration of the contract the way they are continuing to phase him out. So I don't think he's going to be a Steeler beyond 2026 right now. And maybe that's a crazy thing, but I just don't see it. And I think the value that they would get in return for him is, fourth round pick sounds great. I just think it's going to feel woefully insufficient compared to how much the Pittsburgh side of things values Pat Freiermuth and has valued Pat Freiermuth. So that's going to be the problem, is sort of reconciling with the fact that he's not going to get a return, because if the Steelers have suddenly soured on him, hard for me to envision a team being like, well, then we're going to snag him. We're going to take advantage of this.
I agree. Keeping it trucking here. Dougie Fresh, shout out my guy once again. Rice returning to KC this week. Is Juju the odd man out there? Excellent blocker with decent hands. Just saying.
Hands are a little slow, though.
Hands are a little... Dude. That was way too perfect. All right. You got yourself there on that one. That was awesome.
Sorry,
Shout
man.
out to Jacob for the greatest comeback ever. I don't think Juju's coming to Pittsburgh. I do know that last year, though, that last offseason when they were hunting for Brandon Ayuk, you want to know who they made a phone call to? Juju Smith-Schuster. It was to Juju Smith-Schuster. Look, after the beating that he took from Brian Branch, I could see it being a possibility that he's out. But, I think that's just pure reputation. You can't have Patrick Mahomes and his, wife and brother making TikToks on the sideline and a wide receiver getting his butt kicked. It's too much bad publicity. You're just having a rough time there. I can see it happening, but I don't think he's coming to Pittsburgh. I don't think that the Steelers have the desire to bring Juju back to Pittsburgh. As much as I like Juju in Pittsburgh, I don't think he's what they're looking for necessarily. They have this guy named Ben Skoranek, and they love him. They love him.
Yep. I agree. There's no need for him.
No. Cody Silva, shout out both you guys, members. Why are people complaining about grass? We kicked Oakland's butt on the baseball field for years. True. I think that the Acrisure Stadium grass was a fluke, a bit of a fluke one time. Because I've never seen bad grass there. That being said, it was atrocious and it was awful, and they have to fix it. But they did fix it, and it looks nice and fresh from the pictures that I've seen. So shout out to them. I think it was just a mistiming error. I don't think that Pat Narduzzi helped by saying, yeah, it was terrible last week too when we were out there. Pat, what are you doing, brother? You're going to get somebody fired. Let's not do this.
No one cares.
No, let's not. You're just kind of making it worse. Yeah, I think it was kind of a fluke. All right, fruit salad. With Titans firing Bill Callahan, or with Callahan, thinks Smith is a top candidate for that head coaching job. He was, according to the latest odds, the third highest candidate for the job. However, do you think that he would leave Pittsburgh for that job? He said, he made it known that when he was offered at UNC for an interview, that he's being very particular about his next job. Tennessee is an atrocious place right now. They are very bad and do not look very good at all. Do you think he'd leave Pittsburgh for Tennessee?
Yes, I acknowledge, him being particular and wanting to be particular, but where he seemingly had his most successful run, or at least built the reputation for, that has, lasted him through other jobs in the NFL, it's what he did with the Tennessee Titans. So I think, if he's being particular, there is probably some sort of appeal for him to go back to that place where his reputation was sort of built through putting those pieces together. And there is this, amidst the struggling franchise that is the Tennessee Titans, there is, a number 1 overall draft pick who's super young in Cam Ward. And while he isn't the franchise savior, he's probably a piece that you can begin to build around and improve an offense with as the quarterback. So I think there would be something to it. And I think as he has gotten further into the offensive coordinator job, I certainly can see the UNC head coaching job not being very appealing to Arthur Smith, but taking over the Tennessee Titans feels like a much more intriguing offer.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, any NFL offer is way better than a college offer. I'd be curious to hear his thoughts on the matter, which, if he gets offered, we'll know about it and things will happen. That'll be after the season. But for right now, I would be curious to know his thoughts on the entire situation, honestly. Ernie Jones, hey Noah and Jacob, am I overreacting when I'm saying Blitzburg is back? You did your Penturi's playbook today on pretty much that. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I would say Blitzburg is kind of back. Like I would absolutely agree with Ernie here in the sense that they have figured out that they cannot leave this trio of pass rushers, on the field or off of the field for very long, and having just 2 on the field isn't quite enough. And when we think of, I mentioned this in Puntori's playbook, as Noah alluded to, when you think of these like incredible defensive teams, when you think of these Super Bowl teams for the Steelers, even for example, there's like this defining piece of it that is, obviously edge rush is included, but there is this one piece that sort of stands above the rest and is like the first thing you go to when you're talking about that defensive unit. And you look at this 3-headed monster that is the pass rush, and you think of how much damage they're currently doing just with Nick Herbig and TJ Watt being on the field. One little bit of a one game action return from Alex Highsmith. The sky is the limit for this team, and I think Blitzburg is absolutely back.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Shout out to Blitzburg, dude. Shout out to for anybody who wants to see a little reunion. I was on good old Nick Belsky's podcast last night. It dropped this morning on his YouTube channel, Nick Belsky, where we talked about the Still Carton and where the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is these days. So go check that one out. It was good to be back with the boy for sure. And his setup is actually really crazy. So when you go, don't judge ours. That's all I'm saying. Pittsburgh Hornets overreaction. The Steelers will beat Cincinnati by more than 14 points. I don't think this is an overreaction at all. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
No. They beat Cleveland by 14. Right?
Would have beat them by more if they
if the grass,
had a good field. If the grass was greener. You know what I'm saying? If the grass was greener. Not an overreaction. Not even a little. Only one way to skin a cat. Pretty sure Juju laid out perfect. Just saying. He did. Wish he laid out Brian Branch. But he did lay out Vontaze perfect.
His shoulders quick and strong.
I like Juju. For what Juju was when he was here, I was a big fan of Juju. I 100%. Yeah. I think we're past it, but I was a big fan of Juju when he was here. And I think I was one of the only people defending that I think he should actually stay. Pittsburgh Hornets has another great one here. Overreaction, both Noah and Chris Halleck will be blasting the life of a showgirl this weekend together. And that is because somehow it got put out there that me and Chris Halleck, really just me, were belching Taylor Swift in Dublin. Shout out, good times. Lots of Guinness, dude. You put enough Guinness in me, I'll listen to anything, and I will sing it all. So shout out. I think I was also the only person in the country of Ireland that knew what Pink Pony Club was. So, and I made sure everybody knew that I was singing it the loudest. Shout out. Lindsay, great question here. If we trade for a wide receiver, will Tomlin let them get on a moving train, or will it be another Mike Williams situation? Great question. I think it depends on who it is. I think it takes a week when you trade it. I think it takes a week, but I do not think that you trade for Jalen Waddle or Jacoby Myers or Rashid Shaheed or Chris Olave and say, you're going to wait for 8 weeks. I think that Mike Williams came in here and probably wasn't up to snuff. Is nowhere near as good as the guys that we just mentioned. And I think that caused a lot of Tomlin and the Steelers to just go like, yeah, man, like we don't really need him to be out there. So like, it's okay. Do I think that was the right move? No, but I don't think that would be the case with Jalen or any of them.
Yeah, especially with that group of 4 players you named there. You bring in a depth player, don't expect to see him the immediate game after they acquire him, but you bring in Jalen Waddle what purpose does this, mega millionaire receiver who is in here not only just to improve the depth, but to fill a very specific offensive role? What are you gaining by keeping him on the sidelines? It's a totally fair fear to have, given the Mike Williams situation and given the Steelers, propensity of just not playing players that they bring in along the season. So I get that,
sure.
but you don't go out and get Jalen Waddle and then just sit him. It just won't happen.
No, I very much so agree. Lindsay's got another one here. Thoughts on the Tomlin's Browns comment? I loved it. I think the best thing I saw was CBS say it was the shot heard around the AFC North, which was pretty awesome, dude. He we'll let you in on a little secret here. Mike Tomlin's real reaction to this was much more the Browns suck and they're idiots than he let out on that podcast. But we don't go behind the steel curtain here too much. Shout out Mike. I loved it, dude. Shout out Mike T, man. Shout out Mike T. And the Browns are the Browns. You know what I mean? And what they did there are the Browns, because shout out to Mike T. Shout out Mike T.
Must be smarter than us,
Must be smarter than us. Daniel, if Aaron Rodgers retired after the season, what do you think the Steelers would do at quarterback the coming offseason? I think they'd draft somebody. I don't think they'd go I don't think that they would go the veteran route again. I think they would draft somebody and see what they have and see what they can do, unless something crazy happened, like I couldn't even come up. Jalen Hurts gets released. You know what I mean? But if that's not the case, I think the Steelers draft a quarterback in the first round and see what they could do from there.
Yep. And then, a lot of Mason Rudolph.
Steelers fan day overreaction. Ramsey and Herbig both get 3 sacks. That would be crazy. But I will say this. It's an overreaction. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to be against a Cincinnati Bengals offensive line that barely exists, against a quarterback that's 40 years old that can't run. And I just think it would be awesome. I wouldn't say it would blow my mind if it did happen. I would say it's an overreaction, though.
Yes. I think they can get 6 or 7 sacks for sure against the Bengals. Do they all come from just 2 players? I doubt it. Do 3 of them come from potential deep boy Jalen Ramsey? That's where I get a little tripped up. But I think they're going to get after.
So awesome.
That'd be, I mean, he becomes
Joe Flacco
the favorite.
Dead. Let's be honest. Joe Flacco would be dead. He wouldn't be able to walk out. If Jalen Ramsey hit him at full speed 3 times, he'd be dead. This isn't TJ Watt like barely getting around somebody. This is a corner blitzing full force. Just that's how fast it is. You didn't even see it. You weren't even looking. That's how fast it was.
Oh, God. They're cut in half.
Yinzer, chicken salad, Jake, overreaction. Big Ben could have led a team like this to a Super Bowl in 2022 if Cannon and Tomlin weren't so eager to push him into retirement because they wanted a mobile QB for their offense. 2022 was a bad team. So my answer to that is, I think if Ben was playing today at 36 when he retired, 37 when he retired, I think, yes, they could be just as good. But I think this is the first time the Steelers have been good since Ben retired. Since before Ben retired, actually. I think it was pre-elbow injury was the last time the Steelers were like, ooh, this is a good team. Actually, I guess the post elbow injury. That was it. When Ben came back and they made the playoffs and they looked real good that year, that was the best team. COVID year. Besides that, it's been bad. They've been real bad. And they've just, again, Trey Turner, brother. Trey Turner, Kendrick Green, Dan Moore Jr., Chooks Okorafor. It's been bad. It's been bad.
God.
It's been bad. So I would say overreaction. I think if he played today, yeah, I think they'd be very good, but overreaction. That being said, Canada made everything significantly worse. Shout out to Matt Canada. Always. I'll finish it off with one for you here, Poke Salad. Jacob, have you ever seen Event Horizon? It stars Noah's favorite dad from Jurassic Park, Sam Neill. Shout out Sam Neill. This is
Let me
3
guess
days
if
in a row that
Noah's-
we're doing movie finishes here. I kind of like it.
I mean, look at me upset as hell about it. I'm gonna guess if Noah's seen it, he hasn't.
I have not, never.
I have
I
not.
don't even know what this
Also
is about.
Also in that movie, you would probably like it. Also in that movie is Lawrence Fishburne, you know, along with your favorite dad. That's
Zero
dude,
idea who
whatever.
that is.
Wait, we're wrapping up. I don't want to get into it on all that, but it's a great film. It's like you're thrust into this like sort of this spaceship that was gone for like years suddenly appears in orbit, and they send out this team to like figure out what's going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, and what happens is kind of crazy. But yeah, good movie, Poke Salad, for sure. Might watch that later.
I won't, dude. Working my way through Monster, the Eddie Dean. What?
Did you say I won't, dude?
I won't, dude. No chance. Zero
Yeah,
chance.
that's
I'll
fine.
watch that
Fair
movie
enough.
later. Yeah,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah. Working my way through Monster, the Ed Dean movie. Story.
Charlie Hunnam's in that bad boy.
Dude,
Dude from Sons of Anarchy.
You can't name actors, okay? You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't be like, oh, that guy's it. I have no idea no idea who that is.
You're right.
You know how many
I
TikToks I
apologize.
had to watch before I knew who Chris Pratt was? Otherwise, I would have been so lost the other day when you said that. So lost. You can't do that to me. You just can't do it. But it is a fantastic show. So anybody who wants to watch it, you'll have nightmares and definitely think that, everyone's out to kill you. But besides that, it's a great show. And I'm enjoying my time watching it every single night. Shout out. All right, guys, with that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Before you head out, if you guys could do us a favor and like and subscribe to this video, that would be awesome. We're making our way to 100,000, and every like on the video actually helps a ton with our algorithm. So we can't thank you guys enough. Make sure to find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers, and we will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.